Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and today I want to talk to you about a topic that I feel like isn't talked about enough, and that is how to use your menstrual cycle in Magick. Let's go! I feel like I see a million videos on spell timing. How to use the moon phases, how to use the days of the week, the seasons, any other planetary events, planetary hours, a lot of astrological timings, and I will probably cover all of these topics in separate videos at some point too, but that is not what we want to talk about today, because we want to talk about how to use your menstrual cycle in Magick. As someone who menstruates, that's just something that feels so natural, because why necessarily look at planets and days of the week, planetary hours, whatever concepts, when we can just start with just looking at our own bodies. As people who menstruate, we have our own cycle. We have our own roughly 28, 29, 30 days cycle, which is very, very, very similar to the moon phases. So if you think about it, whatever you're doing with the moon phases to time your spells, you can do with your own menstrual cycle. For me personally, that is so cool because it just feels more natural than working with an outside force. I mean, you can work with your own body, with your own menstrual cycle, with your own hormonal cycle and energy cycles. I feel like that is so fascinating, and yeah, as I said, I just don't see it on the internet or in books a lot of the times, so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. This will probably not be the longest video in the world because it's actually very simple when you just start thinking about it. You can just apply whatever you're doing with the moon phases to your own cycle. Because if you look at how the menstrual cycle works, it is so similar to the moon phases. If we just start with the first day in the menstrual cycle, that would be the day when your period starts. And that is actually the day when your energy levels usually are the lowest, because your estrogen levels are also at a very, very low point. So that's kind of a new moon, right? It kind of sounds like a dark moon and new moon. That is the first phase. And then when you look at your menstrual cycle, from that point on, your estrogen level rises, and with that also your energy rises. Kind of sounds like a waxing moon, right? Until it's the day of ovulation, where your energy level as well as your estrogen level are the highest. Kind of sounds like a full moon, right? And afterwards your energy level and your estrogen levels drop again. Kind of sounds like a waning moon, right? So if you think about your menstrual cycle and how it works, it is so similar to the moon phases, which is in itself so fascinating if you think about the fact that our menstrual cycles are basically the same length as one moon cycle, and a lot of people actually are also synced to the moon phases, which me, for example, I usually get my period around new moons, so that makes it even more powerful. But also in itself, even if you're not synced to the moon at all, or if you get your period on a full moon, for example, you can still use it. It's still so powerful. Simply because it is something that goes on in your own body. So if you look at, for example, the day of your period, or in general, like the time around your period when your energy is very low, and I already said it's kind of like a dark moon, new moon. I mean, what does your uterus do during your period? It's shedding everything that it doesn't need, so it's basically cleansing itself. And what do a lot of witches do on a new moon? Cleansing! To cleanse everything down, to make space for whatever will come in during the next cycle. Again, something that syncs. So in my opinion, using the time when you're on your period for cleansings, for example, is an excellent time. An excellent time. Also, because your energy levels are so low, you probably don't want to do any big spells either way, because you simply don't have a lot of energy to work with. So doing a lot of the things that you would naturally do on a dark moon or a new moon makes sense in general. during your period. So for example, doing like more divination maybe. That's something that you would normally do on a dark moon maybe. Do that while you're on your period. Do a lot of cleansings. Do more like planning for your next cycle. And yeah, more planning instead of actually doing. Totally sounds natural, right? I mean, while you're on your period, you probably want to spend your whole day on the couch either way. So perfect timing. And then during your waxing moon phase, or while your energy levels and your estrogen levels are rising, between the period and your ovulation, do things that have to do something with attraction. That is something that I myself would typically do during a waxing moon, so that is also something that I can do between my period and ovulation, because my energy levels are rising and my estrogen levels are rising. Perfect. So if I want to maybe attract some money or attract love or whatever, I'll just do that while my energy and hormone levels are rising. And then around the ovulation time, which would be our full moon time, do whatever you would do on a full moon. So for example, do any heavy work. I like to do very energy heavy work on full moons, because that is just where there's the most energy to work with. And that is also, like during our ovulation, that is also when we have the most energy. Perfect. So use the time around your ovulation to do any heavy workings. And I mean, of course, personally, I would do fertility magic, for example, around full moons. So do that around your ovulation. It makes sense. It makes sense on so many levels. The more you think about it, the more it makes sense. I mean, if you think about your ovulation, that is while you're the most fertile. So using that for fertility magic makes twice the sense. Not only because it's your full moon time in your cycle, but also because in general you are the most fertile already. So why not work with that energy? And then of course, as I said, your energy levels and your estrogen levels drop again. So that of course is the perfect time to do anything that you would normally do on a waning moon. So pushing something away, a lot of banishing, a lot of cleansings, stuff like that. And then period time starts again, so another new moon phase. So starting off with new projects. I don't know. I don't really have to say a lot about that, because basically everyone knows about how to use the moon phases. So just transferring that thought pattern on your menstrual cycle just makes a lot of sense. It comes, to me personally, it comes very naturally. What I personally feel like this is especially good for is any earthy physical spells. So for example, anything that would have to do with fertility or sex magic and stuff like that. Of course, it makes so much sense using your menstrual cycle for that. But also in general, anything that has to do with the earth sphere, basically, with the material plane. So for example, if I would want to attract money maybe, or something that has to do with my job, with my house, anything that has to do with the material plane, I think personally it makes sense to work with your menstrual cycle for spells like that, simply because it works with your body, so it is very earthy, very material. So using that energy that's already existing with any material plane spells just makes sense. But also what makes a lot of sense, especially now around Samhain, where the veil is thin, and a lot of people start or dive deeper into ancestral work and ancestral magic. Do that. Use your menstrual cycle for that. I mean, your ancestors, at least your bloodline ancestors, are the ones who literally birthed you into existence. So what would make more sense than using your menstrual cycle for ancestral work and ancestral magic? And I mean, if you're like me and you're then also very well synced to the moon phases, that makes it even more powerful. That's a whole other level. But nonetheless, it's very powerful in my opinion. I really love doing that. I feel like a lot of the times in spiritual spheres, everyone strives to be like higher than their body and like the material plane. Everyone wants to like, and I mean, it makes sense. It's a lot of fun, like working on the astral realm and working with subtle energies and everything, but there's so much power to working with the material plane and our own bodies. It's just fun, it's very powerful, and I would definitely suggest it to everyone who menstruates. And that's actually already everything there's to it. It is very simple, very powerful, so if you try it and you love it, tell me in the comments. But before we end this video, patron shout out. Thank you very, very much to Anna Cubeboard, Mode, Kaliach, still hoping I'm pronouncing it correctly, Lorna, Victoria, Alexander, Laura, Bird, Amber, Kristen, John, Ivy, Phoenix, Anton, Noemi, Jenny, Tyler, Els, Betty, Misty, Cameron, Tiffany, Amy, Colette, Soren, Braden, Tell, Timothy, Coffee, the honorary gossip squirrel, Bjorn, Scylla, Ash, Lucy, and Joss. Thank you very, very much. And as always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was maybe inspiring to you if you haven't worked with your menstrual cycle in Magick yet. If you do, as I said, tell me in the comments. Also, if you're doing it already, tell me in the comments, tell me about it. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up. And of course, check out my Instagram and my TikTok and my online shop, because I'm not only on Etsy anymore, I also have my own online shop now. So go check it out. It came out amazing. I'm so proud. And maybe you want to consider supporting my channel, then you can check out my Patreon. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!